Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Glor from Wilmington, North Carolina, and this is a special one-hour edition of the Evening News. I am standing in a parking lot that for much of the day was part of the swollen Cape Fear River as we talk about the historic rains associated with Florence. Florence came ashore this morning as a Category 1 hurricane with 90-mile-an-hour winds 10 miles east of here in Wrightsville Beach. It has been downgraded now to a tropical storm, but it's not going anywhere fast. The governor called Florence, quote, an uninvited brute who doesn't want to leave. Florence is now blamed for at least 5 deaths. Nearly 1 million homes and businesses lost power, so this will be a night in the dark for a lot of people in the Carolinas. We have a team of correspondents throughout the region as we bring you extensive coverage tonight of Florence. Florence roared ashore under the cover of darkness, raking the region with pelting rain, widespread flooding, and high winds. Gusts reached over 100 miles an hour in Wilmington, the highest recorded here since 1958, tearing the roofs and facades off buildings and toppling trees.
Oh, there's a lot of trees down.
By midday, Florence claimed her first lives when a tree crashed onto a home in Wilmington, North Carolina, killing a mother and her infant daughter. Rescue workers were able to save the father.
It's a sad news to get on a day like today. There's no preparing for something like that.
In Morehead City, what was a building became a pile of rubble. A rising river in Belhaven nearly swallowed the first floor of this house. The lights were still on. It was hard to tell if anyone was home. And the high winds blew transformers, dropping Wilmington into darkness. By daybreak, we could finally see what until then we could only hear and feel.
And this is some of the worst of Florence now. It is Friday morning. This is the Cape Fear River, which is just raging. And we're right in the eye wall winds, which are the worst.
At one point, the 350-mile-wide, slow-moving storm packed winds so fierce, we'd all but lost contact with our New York studio during our morning broadcast.
We may, in fact, have Jeff now. Jeff, can you hear me?
Apologies again for some of the communication issues here as we deal with some of the worst of Florence as she arrives now. The rain is coming sideways, down, and up. Florence drove more than 1 million people from their homes, and more than 700,000 lost power. Rain ranging from 1 to 3.5 feet has already fallen, and it's not over. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper.
For overall damage, it will be hard at the end of the day, I think, to find a rival for this storm.
In Wilmington, many of the trees that contributed to its historic beauty are now gone.
So this is my street.
This is your street right here?
Yes.
George Pace returned to his neighborhood and saw his home for the first time, expecting the worst, but discovering only minimal damage. Florence may be gone from here by tomorrow, but she will not be forgotten. Wilmington Mayor Bill Saffo.
You can walk faster than the storm is moving.
I mean, there's trees down all over. Right. How long is it? How long do you think it'll be before people get power back?
It could be anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, possibly even a bit longer than that in some areas.
The White House told us today that the president will visit the Carolinas sometime next week once they figure out that visit will not interrupt rescue and recovery operations.